In a quiet, sunlit office, a silver-haired man reads a book, while his white-haired colleague works at her desk. The man hesitates, pondering which pack of cigarettes to choose. His colleague, addressing him as president, reminds him it's time to leave, to which he seems surprised. The president lights a cigarette and bids his colleague, Itakura, farewell for the day. Adjusting his tie, the president's expression hardens with determination. Itakura watches him go, sincerely wishing him good fortune in the coming battle. He walks away with a confident smirk, eagerly anticipating what's to come. The scene shifts dramatically to a fantasy world, where a party of heroes arrives at the ominous Demon King's castle. A young hero with orange hair and his 3 female companions celebrate finally reaching their destination. He is identified as the great savior, Leo. A flashback reveals that Leo was reincarnated into this world from Japan a few years ago by a god's power. During his summoning, a divine being reached out to him, pleading that their world needed him. The goddess bestowed upon him a great power, entrusting him to save their world from the demon tribe. Ever since that day, Leo and his companions have fought tirelessly, hunting demons and saving people. He turns to his companions with a warm smile, thanking them for their journey together. His party is introduced: the cat-eared girl Ran, the elf swordswoman Lilia, and the magician Mahal. Looking at his party, Leo feels truly blessed to have such great companions. Standing before the massive gates, Leo rallies his party to enter the castle. Inside, upon a grand throne, sits the president from the office, waiting patiently. Leo bursts into the throne room, shouting that the Demon King's reign of evil ends today. But the president merely smirks, calmly telling the hero he came too late. The entire party is stunned into shocked silence. His companions whisper nervously, realizing this man isn't the Demon King, and wondering who he is. The president coolly apologizes for startling them as he rises from the throne. He introduces himself not as a Demon King, but as a humble repossession agent. Enraged, Leo calls him a suspicious fiend and demands to know where the Demon King is. The agent casually replies that he had Mr. Demon King step out for a moment. A chill runs down Leo's spine as a dawning horror begins to set in. Tanaka Naoto. Flinch. Leo pulls back in shock, his past life's name echoing in his ears. Confused, Mahal protests that he is the great savior, not some Tanaka Naoto. The agent scoffs, accusing Tanaka of forcibly dragging women unsuited for battle into his savior game. Leaning in, he reveals Tanaka's past life crimes, a relentless stalker who, while on probation, murdered a woman. The horrific accusation paralyzes Tanaka with fear as blood-soaked memories flash. A piece of scum is still a piece of scum, the agent declares with a chilling smile. Get it? What are you talking about? Tanaka stammers, frantically trying to deny the dark accusations. The agent turns his attention away from the disgraced hero and toward his female companions. He asks them if they are truly, willingly, by this man's side. The women look at each other, their faith in their leader suddenly shaken. Mahal looks down in shame, confessing that he used saving her village as leverage to force her to join him. Flashbacks show the truth. Tanaka coerced each of them into his party through threats and obligation after saving them. So they say, the agent asks rhetorically, as the disillusioned women now stand behind him. Desperate, Tanaka pleads that it's all a misunderstanding, and his companions are just confused. He looks up in despair at the agent, his lies crumbling around him. His eyes widen in absolute terror as his fabricated new life collapses. No, shut up, he screams, refusing to accept reality. In a final desperate act, Tanaka unleashes a powerful blast of fire. The inferno washes over the agent and the 3 women, who stand completely unfazed. Boom, the explosion roars and then fades into nothingness. Tanaka stares at his hand in utter disbelief, realizing his power is gone. The roaring inferno erupts from Tanaka's hand. Believing his attack successful, Tanaka erupts into maniacal laughter. Serves you right, he gloats, reveling in the blaze. His face contorts with madness as he declares that anyone who threatens his world will burn to ashes. But through the flames, the president stands completely untouched within a serene blue aura. He smirks, remarking that he happens to like guys with spirit. Why? Tanaka screams, horrified that his attack had absolutely no effect. His companions stare in wide-eyed confusion, their fear growing. The president calmly takes a drag from his cigarette, coldly stating that scum like Tanaka is lower than shit. A jolt of pure terror shoots through Tanaka, who realizes this man is terrifying. Trembling, Tanaka wonders what in the world this guy could possibly be. The president explains he received a request from the god of this world, who resides over the land where the Demon King's castle looms. A flashback shows the divine crystal as the god's voice echoes, referencing the power it bestowed. The president relays the god's orders: collect the power and send Tanaka back to his original world. "I see," Tanaka says, feigning understanding before drawing his sword and screaming, "Don't come any closer." He threatens the president, warning him that getting any closer won't end well for him. Panicked, Tanaka screams again for the president not to approach him. Ugh. He lunges forward, thrusting his flaming sword at the president's chest. Clang. The president effortlessly blocks the fiery blade with a single, ordinary business card. "Oh, right," the president says coolly, "I haven't introduced myself yet." He holds up his card, identifying himself as the president from the Lotus Collection Agency Service. "Name's Hasuda," he says with a grin. "A pleasure to meet you." His business card states they repossess anything: abilities, bodies, or debts. Hasuda's eyes glow as he addresses Tanaka Naoto directly. "That power of yours," he declares. "I think I'll be repossessing it now." Damn it, Tanaka seethes, cornered and powerless as his former party watches. "Damn it," he screams, revealing a set of chains as dark energy swirls around him. Ugh, the magical chains lash out, binding his 3 former companions. He yanks hard on the chains, dragging the helpless women toward him. Ugh, the women cry out as they fall to the floor at his feet, with Hasuda observing calmly. "I refuse to accept this." Tanaka roars, cursing the shitty president and demanding he leave. He grabs the magician by her hair, a predatory grin on his face. With a sickening lick, he snarls that he'll kill every last one of them. Hasuda watches in silence as the bound women tremble in terror. The cat-eared girl, Ran, glares past her tears, declaring that someone like him is no savior. "You're a monster," she cries out, wearing human skin. "Shut up." Tanaka screams, violently pulling the chain and choking her. His true colors finally showing, he rants that his actions don't matter, because this world needs him. Hasuda smirks, casually mentioning the last guy he collected from said something similar, wondering if it's a trend. Tanaka looks on, confused and enraged by the president's nonchalant comment. Hasuda continues, explaining that when it comes to the things good-for-nothings think up, every single one of them ends up being the same. That's just how it is. Ugh, gah. Tanaka groans, blood trickling from his eyes as he begins to break down. He screams in agony, his body racked with violent convulsions of purple energy. "Reboot!" he shrieks, unleashing a final, desperate burst of fiery power. The chains binding the women ignite into a searing, fiery vortex. But with a simple gesture, Hasuda intervenes. What the Tanaka whispers, watching his chains go limp. "Suddenly my strength is draining away," he realizes as he collapses to his knees. Holding the divine crystal, now cleansed of its dark corruption, Hasuda announces, "Repossession complete." Hasuda thanks the kneeling Tanaka, casually holding the repossessed divine power. He smirks, explaining the repossession went smoothly because Tanaka reveals his true, vile nature. Hasuda taunts the broken man, asking how it feels to be back in his original body. Staring at his hands, Tanaka looks up in stunned confusion, his appearance now completely changed. Hasuda again asks how it feels to return to his original body, as Tanaka stares at his hands in disbelief. Touching his face in horror, Tanaka recoils, stammering as the physical change sinks in. The women stare in shock, unable to believe the haggard man before them is Leo. Crawling on the floor, Tanaka desperately screams for his power back, yelling that God gave it to him. Hasuda coldly asks if God regretted choosing the wrong person, but Tanaka denies it, only for Hasuda to remind him he's just Tanaka Naoto. Suddenly, Hasuda viciously kicks Tanaka, sending him reeling in shock. Pinning him with his foot, Hasuda declares this ends now, cryptically mentioning he saved someone named Katagi-san a lot of trouble. As Tanaka grovels and begs for forgiveness, Hasuda calmly makes a phone call, telling his associate he has the body and it's time for pickup. Looking down at the groveling man, Hasuda offers him a chance, leaving Tanaka confused. "A chance to be reborn," he says ominously, as the headlights of a large truck suddenly materialize. "Oh no, not truckin'," screech. A white truck materializes and speeds through the throne room, shocking everyone as it bears down on them. Hasuda casually greets his business partner, thanking the Master of Cargoes for their help. The Cargo Master is revealed, a hulking monster with a grotesque, fleshy head and a single glowing eye. As Tanaka screams, "Monster!" the Cargo Master inspects the merchandise, with Hasuda guaranteeing the contents are safe, despite the dirty exterior. The Cargo Master grabs Tanaka, musing aloud about needing a miner and using a transformation thread, leaving Tanaka horrified and confused. The Cargo Master gives a satisfied look, noting that there's no damage or decay. After settling the price, the Cargo Master declares the deal done, estimating Tanaka will be useful for 200 years before being left to the Master. As the Cargo Master drags him away, Tanaka screams for them to stop and let him go. Thrown to the ground and shackled, Tanaka can only groan in pain. Completely subdued, defeated and shackled, Tanaka finds himself surrounded by a horde of red-eyed goblins. The goblins begin to poke and prod the terrified Tanaka, who can only whisper for help as he feels a deep cold. Overwhelmed by goblin hands, Tanaka screams in a final, desperate rage for them to let him go. As Tanaka struggles, Hasuda and the Cargo Master look on with dispassionate calm. Dragged away by goblins, Tanaka screams at Hasuda, asking if this is the chance to be reborn he was promised. Hasuda smirks, clarifying that while he'll be reborn, he never specified it would be as a human, sealing Tanaka's horrified fate. Wah! The truck, decorated with a cheerful smiley face logo, drives off as screams echo from within. As the three women stare in stunned silence, a voiceover offers a chillingly professional farewell. Use us again. The truck disappears beyond the castle gates, leaving behind an ominous promise. We'll be waiting for you. Hasuda turns to the three companions, who flinch as he nonchalantly asks why they are still there. The women look on anxiously, while Hasuda appears genuinely puzzled by their continued presence. He points out that since their savior has changed jobs, they should just go home, but they confess it isn't that simple. Still not understanding their predicament, Hasuda claps his hands together with a confused, "Huh?" Alone on a balcony, Hasuda stands under the full moon, his job now complete. Reaching for a cigarette, he finds the pack empty and curses under his breath in annoyance. Looking out over the fantasy landscape, he makes a mental note to buy more cigarettes on the way home. The scene transitions to a gritty urban landscape, identified as the Black Dragon Castle District. A beautiful white-haired woman dressed like a goddess appears lost in a grimy alleyway, looking utterly out of place. Lost and confused by the complex city streets, the goddess murmurs that she is trying to find Lotus's office. Caw. The cawing of crows overhead adds an ominous tone to the darkening alley. Suddenly, she's grabbed from behind by a masked man, and she stammers an apology in shock. TSK, the bandaged man recoils with a start, his red eye glowing as he thinks to himself how scary she is. The bandaged man and his deformed-faced companion spot a cigarette shop, identifying it as the cash exchange their big bro mentioned. The men order the elderly shopkeeper to use her ability to turn a handful of gems into cash. After she returns a meager stack of cash, the deformed man erupts in anger, accusing the hag of ripping them off. Pulling a knife, the man threatens to teach the old woman their value through pain, sneering that she can't see their true worth. Silence, the shopkeeper roars, transforming into a monstrous snake creature, leaving her assailants and the goddess utterly stunned. Geh, geh. The monstrous snake creature easily overpowers the two thugs, capturing them in her powerful tail. The snake woman, now with a more humanoid face, accuses the men of trying to rip her off with trash crystals, but one thug sneers that they should shut her mouth instead. Getting menacingly close, she offers to improve one of their skills, her threat leaving the bandaged man sweating in terror. A man in a suit arrives on the scene, observing the confrontation as the terrified goddess watches from the side. It's Hasuda, who casually greets the creature as Aunt Sheba, complimenting her, to which she responds with a delighted, "Oh my." Reverting to a smiling elderly woman, Aunt Sheba happily welcomes the president. While Aunt Sheba holds the two thugs, Hasuda explains he's been busy lately, which is why he hasn't visited. Aunt Sheba remarks that he's always working, and he laughs wearily, admitting that the poor have no free time. "Scram, brats." Aunt Sheba shouts, violently tossing the two thugs and their meager cash out of her shop. She reverts to her monster form one last time, threatening to devour them if they ever return as they flee in terror. Sighing, Aunt Sheba laments how horrible modern collectors are, dismissing them as good-for-nothing thugs. Inside, Hasuda explains that with so many new reincarnations, he prefers to bring the truly valuable items, like a beautiful blue crystal, directly to her. Pleased, Aunt Sheba agrees it's a good deal and asks for more, knowing such items will sell quickly. A narration explains that the collection agency's job is to retrieve powers from unnecessary reincarnates, since gods cannot interfere directly. Desperate to improve their world's performance, gods give reincarnates power far beyond their status to boost their grades. But when this inevitably messes up the world, they come crying to the collection agency for help. Hasuda reflects that when given too much power, the average person either fights back or creates a massive loss, so it's no surprise these plans fail. Aunt Sheba asks Hasuda for any collection tips, given his extensive experience. He ponders for a moment, cryptically describing his technique as pulling the yolk from a raw egg without breaking the shell. Aunt Sheba bursts into laughter, admitting she has no idea what he's talking about. Hasuda thanks her and leaves the shop as she waves him a cheerful goodbye. As he walks away, the white-haired goddess spots him and calls out. She formally thanks him for dealing with Tanaka Naoto, and Hasuda confirms the request went well. The goddess nervously asks what has become of Tanaka. Taking a drag from his cigarette, Hasuda casually replies that he's starting over and working very hard. Her relief is cut short, as Hasuda adds that Tanaka's body was heavily modified and his work will last 200 years, horrifying her. Too much, Hasuda asks, his expression darkening as he calls her complaint annoying. He coldly informs the goddess that they are the Black Dragon Fort's collection agency, and her godly ethics don't apply here. Listen up, young lady, he warns. If you want to stay beautiful, don't come here again. Later, Hasuda sits on a park bench and takes a phone call, telling the person on the line he's heading home. A white-haired associate named Itakura informs him that someone named Byaki-san has new clients who want a meeting and his information. Itakura relays the case details. A reincarnated person who wants a calm life has an abnormally high happiness index. The scene shifts to a gathering where a special, glowing mushroom tea is being poured. A blonde woman named Magna-sama serves the tea to adoring villagers who praise her gratefully. Back on the phone, Hasuda expresses his doubts, wondering if there's more to the story than just a high happiness index. Deciding to take the case, he tells Itakura he's coming back to the office. At the office, a new client introduces himself as Kagumira and formally requests an ability collection. "Yo, I'm Hasuda, the president," he says, handing his business card to the flustered Kaguyamura. Hasuda introduces his collection agent, a massive green lizard man in a floral shirt named Oyayagi. He then introduces the white-haired woman as their information gatherer, Itakura. With the team assembled, Hasuda settles in and asks Kaguyamura to explain the details of the request. Wiping sweat from his brow, Kaguyamura begins to explain the situation with a reincarnator he recently welcomed. He states that he only granted the person crafting skills, as they simply wish to live a slow, peaceful life. A flashback shows the reincarnator, Magna-sama, smiling blissfully as she confirms that a slow life has always been her dream. Kaguyamura explains that, for some reason, the happiness value in the region where she lives is rising to an extreme level. He panics, explaining that maintaining emotional balance is key to his performance, and if it keeps dropping, he'll be stripped of his god status. Hasuda listens with a tired expression, remarking that these kinds of things are usually just troublesome cases. Kaguyamura bows desperately, begging Sir Lotus to do something, pleading that he's their only hope. With a smirk, Hasuda states their fee is half of the collected amount and agrees to take the case. Oyayagi asks for his boss's opinion on his readiness for the job, but is met with a sharp-toothed grin from Hasuda, who seems more focused on his own concerns. Oyagi reflects on his growth since his last collection with the boss, feeling confident as they walk, while Hasuda simply states that he's counting on him. After a walk through the woods, Hasuda and Oyayagi arrive at a large wooden gate, identifying it as the village in question. Staring up at the barbed wire fence, Hasuda notes that the village looks more like a prison. Oyayagi grins, asking where they should infiltrate from, but Hasuda simply calls him an idiot. Dismissing stealth, Hasuda declares they will approach from the front, explaining it's a basic principle of business. The scene shifts to a peaceful, idyllic village full of log cabins, a stark contrast to its fortified entrance. The blonde woman, Magna, is greeted adoringly by villagers as she wishes everyone a good morning on a beautiful day. Two female villagers swoon, sighing that Lord Magna is as wonderful as ever. A group of villagers gathers around a worried young woman named Marie, telling her not to fret. Crying, Marie despairs over her husband, who left the village 3 months ago and hasn't returned. A hand gently reaches toward Marie, telling her not to cry. Magna gently lifts Marie's chin, comforting her as she looks up at him. He explains that he sent her husband on an important mission for tea ingredients, though Marie admits she's still finding it tough. Offering her a small bottle of purple liquid, Magna tells her to try drinking it. He calls it a special tea prepared just for her, and Marie hesitantly drinks from the bottle. Her sadness vanishes instantly as she smiles and declares the tea is delicious. Now cheerful, Marie wonders why she was so down, realizing her worries feel insignificant. The villagers celebrate her recovery as Magna smiles, satisfied that she is happy again. The villagers praise Lord Magna, crediting him for bringing smiles and joy to the entire village since his arrival. Magna humbly insists he just wants everyone to be happy, but his expression darkens as he vows to do anything to protect that happiness. Disguised among sheep, Hasuda and Oyayagi are spotted by villagers as Magna watches them with suspicion. Hasuda casually greets Magna, complimenting the village before shocking him by calling him by his old name, Ito Takeshi. The villagers whisper in confusion, wondering who Ito Takeshi is, while Magna reels, questioning how these men know his name. Composing himself, Magna steps forward to greet the men, introducing himself as the village chief. Hasuda politely introduces himself and his subordinate Oyayagi from Lotus Collection Services, handing over a business card. Magna's face falls, as Hasuda reveals they are there on a god's request. Hasuda states their purpose plainly. They have come to collect his ability. Holding out the business card, Hasuda reiterates that he's here to collect his power. Magna stares at the business card, his expression unreadable. Smiling serenely, Magna suggests they've made a mistake, insisting his name is Magna, not Ito Takeshi. Oyayagi questions their data, but Hasuda instructs him to read it, triggering a flashback of Magna's past as salaryman Ito Takeshi, which clearly shocks him. Hasuda presses again, asking if it is truly a mistake while addressing him as Ito Takeshi. Magna reaffirms his new identity, declaring that his only purpose in life is to make the villagers happy. Hasuda puffs on his cigarette, acknowledging Magna's noble aspirations with a smirk. Suddenly, the villagers turn hostile, defending Lord Magna and calling the collectors ignorant outsiders. A villager attacks Oyayagi, who easily blocks the blow, while Hasuda notes that all the villagers are in on this. The villagers are revealed to be Lord Magna's fanatical followers, ready to defend him as he watches with a dark, satisfied smile. Surrounded, Hasuda and Oyayagi are ordered to leave by the enraged villagers. Magna calmly raises a hand, assuring his followers that he's fine. He politely addresses Mr. Hasuda and Mr. Oyayagi, confirming their identities from the collection service. Maintaining his composure, Magna invites them to his house for tea. Oyayagi explodes in disbelief, but Hasuda is merely amused, as Magna insists it's his duty as chief to entertain guests. As Magna leads them away, Oyayagi asks if his boss is serious, but Hasuda calmly tells him he can wait outside. Flicking his cigarette away, Hasuda wonders if he's walking into a trap, but decides to have some fun with it. Inside, Oyayagi compliments the house's style, as Magna graciously invites them to sit for tea. A pristine white teapot sits on a tray, ready to be served. Now seated, Hasuda cuts to the chase, asking to get to the main topic. Magna pours the glowing purple tea, confirming their purpose, while Oyayagi angrily refuses to drink it, but Hasuda calmly accepts a cup. Hasuda chides Oyayagi for his rudeness and takes a sip, declaring it's just right for him, but perhaps too much for a kid. A blonde man with a braided ponytail smirks, calling someone rude before boasting about how convenient his power is. With a sinister smile, he demonstrates his power by creating a magical trap that ensnares Hasuda, Byakuya, and Minister Uri. Byakuya and Hasuda react in shock as the trap activates beneath them. Wah! Byakuya screams as he and Hasuda are plunged into a dark, swirling void. The blonde man waves goodbye with a smug grin, a glowing magical seal in his hand. He muses that they probably won't meet again, the scene fading to an empty room. A long, desperate scream echoes through the darkness. Landing in a dark, foul-smelling waterway, Hasuda lights a cigarette and wonders where they've been dropped. Hasuda checks on his companion, calling out, "Oyayagi, you alive?" as the dazed man looks up from the ground. Eek. A skeleton covered in blue mushrooms suddenly animates and Yagi screams while Hasuda simply finds the noise annoying. Yagi nervously points out the mushrooms on a skeleton, and Hasuda confirms they are parasitic. Hasuda points out something on Yagi's head, and Yagi panics, discovering 2 mushrooms have sprouted from his hair that he can't pull off. Hasuda realizes the stench is from the mushrooms, and correctly guesses it's a petty trick from the blonde man. Warning Yagi not to breathe too deeply, Hasuda explains that those who defy Lord Magna become nutrients for the mushrooms. Yagi notices a cut on his head as Hasuda grimly suggests they explore the dark side of this happy village. Boss Yagi shouts, warning Hasuda that something is approaching them in the darkness. As a strange, shambling figure approaches, Hasuda calmly lights another cigarette. A disoriented man, covered in blue mushrooms, stumbles out of the shadows. Yagi and Hasuda watch in surprise as the strange man approaches. The mushroom-covered man clutches his head, confusedly asking who or what he is. Ugh, he stumbles, looking up with a pained and vacant expression. Yagi stares in bewildered confusion while Hasuda coolly asks the stranger who he is. The mushroom man, suddenly lucid, asks if they too were thrown down there by Magna. He asks if they're from the village, and who they are, a memory of Magna flashing in his mind. Hasuda reveals they're here to collect Magna's power, leaving the man stunned by the seemingly impossible claim. Hasuda explains that to collect the power cleanly, they must first expose Magna's true nature by shaking things up. As Hasuda and Yagi turn to leave, the man desperately begs them to wait and warn his wife and the others to run. Hasuda coldly asks what's in it for them, telling the man to warn them himself, but he cries that he can't. In a last-ditch effort, the man offers to tell them all of the master's secrets, including those of the village. He collapses, pleading that he's running out of time. A glint of hope appears in his eye as he looks up, sensing an opportunity. Hasuda smirks, finding the proposal acceptable and agreeing to hear the man's secrets. Around a small fire, the man reveals that everyone in the village is being brainwashed by Magna, and Hasuda asks how. He explains Magna uses euphoria-inducing mushrooms to control the villagers, leaving Hasuda and Yagi to process the bizarre truth. The man, whose name is Thomas, recalls a simpler time when his poor village was peaceful and he and his wife Marie were happy. Then, a man named Magna suddenly appeared, transforming their lives with mysterious powers, new technology, and miraculous medicine. In the blink of an eye, everyone became obsessed with Magna, but Thomas began to feel something was wrong. He remembers his wife, Marie, telling him how a hero named Master Magna appeared and solved everything, her eyes shining with adoration. Lying in a hammock, Thomas grows concerned as he realizes Marie's admiration for Magna is becoming a fanatical obsession. Marie chillingly confronts Thomas, stating Magna is like a god, and asking if one needs a reason to worship a god. Thomas explains that the villagers soon became Magna's servants, so he gathered the few sane people left to investigate. They discovered Magna laced all the food with his mushrooms and planned to expand his influence, and just as they found proof, Magna appeared, condescendingly telling Thomas that a sewer rat gaining wisdom will not lead to happiness. Thomas tearfully concludes his story, explaining that all his comrades were consumed by the mushrooms and died. Yagi calls Magna absolute filth, while Hasuda deduces Magna cleverly uses his victims as ingredients for more brainwashing mushrooms. Thomas pushes a bag towards them, pleading for them to take his comrade's keepsake and a letter. Crying, he begs them to save everyone. He weakly pushes the bag forward again, pleading for them to help Marie and the others open their eyes. Hasuda takes the bag, confirming he's received it, and thanking Thomas for the valuable information. As his body dissolves into glowing particles, Thomas whispers his thanks, and Hasuda tells him to leave the rest to them. Oya Yagi watches in horror as Hasuda's body dissolves into a pile of purple slime after drinking the tea. Oya Yagi grits his teeth in fury, admitting it's been a while since he was this angry, as Magna's golden crafting ring materializes. From beyond, Hasuda's voice reassures a distraught Oya Yagi, telling Thomas not to worry because they always keep their promises as they walk away from Magna's remains. The scene flashes back to a joyous banquet where Magna toasts to another great day, and the villagers praise him gratefully. The villagers raise their glasses in a toast, shouting, "Cheers!" The happy toast is interrupted by a violent explosion. As villagers react in shock to the blast, Hasuda casually appears, noting everyone's gathered. He and Oya Yagi explained their late arrival was due to Master Magna's passionate welcome. Hasuda and Oyayagi stand amidst the ruined feast, announcing they've come to return the favor with a big thank you. A surprised Magna asks how they got in, but Oyayagi furiously tells him to shut it, calling him a monster as Magna's expression hardens. Addressing the confused villagers, Hasuda declares he will now show them the truth of their happy village. Hasuda smirks, standing beside Oyayagi as he reaffirms his intention to reveal the village's dark secret. The villagers are bewildered as the scene around them changes to daylight, and Magna watches in stunned silence. Hasuda reveals that all the food Master Magna has been serving them has been mixed with a special blue mushroom. The villagers laugh off the revelation, saying everyone knows the mushroom has amazing medicinal effects. Hasuda asks if that's so, then crushes the mushroom to reveal a human skull inside, asking if they also knew its main ingredient is humans, horrifying the crowd. Staring at the skull on their dinner table, the villagers turn to a silent, shadowed Magna, asking for an explanation. Magna finally looks up and smiles, thanking them for the amusing sideshow and dismissing the theory as interesting but unrealistic. Oyayagi furiously tells Magna not to play dumb, while Hasuda calmly agrees, having anticipated his denial. Stating they didn't come empty-handed, Hasuda plays a phone recording in which a voice reveals Magna is brainwashing everyone in the village. Marie recognizes the voice as her husband, Thomas, as she and the other villagers listen in shock. Hasuda reveals the horrible truth. Magna drains his victims' life force to grow mushrooms, kills them, and then feeds them to the other villagers. As further proof, Oyayagi dumps out a bag of personal belongings, declaring they belong to the people Magna killed. The villagers recognize the items as belonging to their missing loved ones, and the horrifying truth sinks in. Betrayed and enraged, the villagers confront Magna, demanding he explain himself. Cornered, Magna laments being so close to his goal and declares the situation is the worst as he unleashes a burst of green energy. As a glowing magic circle spreads from his feet, Magna prepares to cast a powerful spell. Declaring he must reset and delete everything, Magna summons monstrous horned white wolves from a dark void. The wolves immediately attack, sending the terrified villagers scattering in chaos. Oyayagi curses the bastard Magna, while Hasuda dryly remarks that he really thinks of everything. Unfazed by the chaos, Magna smirks, declaring it's nothing, and that Hasuda and Oyayagi will take responsibility as he summons a new threat. Magna proudly presents his pride and joy, a hulking green orc, as his collector's new opponent. Oyayagi gapes at the massive orc, noting it's bigger than him, while Hasuda coolly calls it an impressive specimen. With a malicious grin, Magna orders his creation to crush them, and the orc swings its massive club. Oyayagi transforms into his powerful lizardman form, effortlessly stopping the club and demanding to know what the orc is doing. Asking his boss to leave the big oaf's monster to him, Oyayagi gets a nod from Hasuda, who says he's counting on him. The orc recoils, its hands stinging from the blocked blow. HMPH. With a single, powerful strike, Oyayagi sends the massive orc flying. The orc crashes through a building, defeated, as Oyayagi stands over its body and taunts it to get up. Oyayagi grins, calling the downed orc Chompy and daring it to come and get him. Impressed by Oyayagi's strength, Magna asks to have him, but Hasuda denies the request, forcing Magna to consider his other assets, the wolves. Magna decides that if he kills Hasuda, he can claim Oyayagi, and he SICS his demonic wolves on the collector. With a single commanding word, sit, Hasuda unleashes an immense pressure that instantly flattens all the attacking wolves. Lighting a cigarette, Hasuda smugly informs the subdued wolves that he will be the one to teach them some manners. Hasuda mockingly asks Magna what trick he'll try next, but Magna clenches his fist, drawing blood and unleashing a smokescreen as Hasuda realizes he's playing dirty. A suffocating red mist fills the village, causing the residents to choke in panic as Marie cries out for her husband, Thomas. A hand reaches through the mist, and a voice calls out Marie's name. Magna emerges from the fog, telling Marie he's found her, and trying to pull her away as she screams that she no longer believes in him. Grasping Marie's chin, Magna creepily suggests that if he kills her suitor, they can finally live happily ever after for all eternity. Hasuda remarks that Magna isn't one to run, but admits they've lost him in the mist, just as he spots Marie being dragged away. Oops. Hasuda suddenly appears behind Marie, catching her and asking if she's all right before swiftly knocking her unconscious with a chop to the neck. Ah! Hasuda looks down in shock at the knife protruding from his chest, as a voiceover pledges loyalty to Master Magna. Marie, her eyes glazed over, vows loyalty to Magna and death to the outsiders, as a bleeding Hasuda realizes the depth of her brainwashing. With a cold expression, Marie repeats her brainwashed pledge as Hasuda looks on grimly, the bloody knife lying on the ground between them. Ugh. Hasuda stumbles backward, clutching his chest wound before collapsing to the ground. Magna appears, praising a docile Marie for being a good girl as the fallen Hasuda curses the bastard from the ground. Magna explains the mist has the same mind-controlling effect as the mushrooms, justifying its use as necessary to protect the village while caressing Marie's face. Hasuda lies motionless on the ground, his hand open and his cigarette extinguished beside him. Watching Oyagi fight, Magna decides to dispose of Hasuda first and then modify Oyagi, musing that making the two collectors fight could be fun. Magna turns to the entranced Marie, ordering her to dismantle that thing's body for him. Under Magna's control, Marie obediently approaches Hasuda's body and reaches for him. Thwack! Hasuda suddenly grabs her wrist, surprising her, and confirms her name is Marie before telling her he has a request. He reveals the request is from Thomas, who asked him to snap her out of it, as Magna watches in disbelief. As Hasuda uses a magical antidote, the mind control shatters around Marie, her eyes widening in a moment of clarity. Dazed, Marie questions her loyalty to Magna, and Hasuda confirms she's finally awake as she recognizes the collector. Marie panics upon seeing the knife in Hasuda's chest, but he remains calm, smirking slightly. Hasuda reassures her, pulling the knife from his chest and explaining his body is specially made to heal instantly. Awestruck, Marie asks who he is, but he casually lights a cigarette and replies he's just a simple collection agent. The other villagers begin chanting their loyalty to Magna, and Marie cries out in horror, trying to wake them up. Hasuda yanks Marie out of the path of a charging villager's knife, telling the hesitant girl to go hide. Hasuda promises to protect her as part of his vow to Thomas, warning her things are about to get rough as his hand begins to glow. Unleashing his power, Hasuda is engulfed by golden magic sigils that blast outwards, causing the brainwashed villagers to cry out in pain. As the villagers fall unconscious, Hasuda apologizes, assuring them they'll be fine by morning. Magna appears, surprised Hasuda is alive, and thanks him for saving him the trouble of searching for him. Hasuda smirks, revealing he has his own tricks, and unnerves Magna by calling him Takeshi Ito, asking if being betrayed by his followers feels familiar. A flashback shows Magna as a cult leader, his followers clapping and praising his wonderful lecture, believing they're being saved. The flashback continues, showing Magna manipulating his followers, demanding larger offerings from a desperate family to save them. As a robed cult leader, Magna preaches to his followers, telling them to offer their gratitude. The flashback reveals the cult leader's downfall. A young man who looks like a younger Hasuda furiously stabs him, blaming him for everything. Snapping back to the present, Magna maniacally declares himself the king of this perfect nation he's created. Hasuda stands unimpressed amidst the waking villagers, coolly challenging Magna's claim to be king. Magna orders his followers to kill the outsider, but they hesitate, and one villager stops another, to Magna's shock. Marie desperately calls for the collection agent as Magna grabs her, demanding to know why she alone won't stay by his side. As the world shatters around him like glass, Magna questions Marie's betrayal after he took such good care of her. His face cracking with rage, Magna screams that Marie is a commoner and that the word of the king is absolute. As Magna unleashes his power to force Marie to bow, Hasuda watches from the side, a smirk on his face. Now blindfolded, Hasuda rushes forward and slams into Magna with a powerful tackle. Gwa! Magna crashes into a pile of barrels, left stunned and bleeding from the impact. Hasuda looms over the defeated Magna, remarking that his mask has finally come off. Magna curses his luck, but Hasuda shuts him down, stating he was never cut out to command others as he pins him with his foot. A glowing hexagonal sigil materializes in Hasuda's hand as he prepares to collect Magna's power, saying it's simple. As golden energy swirls, Hasuda calmly states that Magna was never meant to lead people, and that's all there is to it. With a flash of light, Magna's power is extracted into a green orb, and the retrieval is declared complete. Hasuda casually concludes their business as Marie and an older villager look on, wondering about his true identity. His sanity restored, The older villager laments their fate as a powerless Magna weakly calls out to Marie. Marie coldly demands to know where Thomas is, and the old man eerily promises to take her, telling her to trust only him. Hasuda appears behind the old man, now revealed as another villain, and remarks that he's terrible at accepting defeat. Hasuda coldly reveals the horrifying truth. The old man turned Thomas into a mushroom seedbed before killing him. The old man denies it and lunges for Marie, but she shoves him away with newfound resolve, and he stumbles to the ground. Clutching her chest in anguish, Marie cries that she was an idiot for trusting someone like him as he groans in defeat. Overcome with rage and grief, Marie attacks the old man, choking him and screaming for him to give Thomas back. Overcome by grief and rage, Marie chokes the old man, blaming him for everything. Whoa! Hasuda pulls Marie back, telling her that's enough, but she screams for him to let go, crying that because of him, the village and Thomas are gone. He says he understands how she feels. Hasuda calmly explains that if the old man dies, his value drops by half, and this is just business for them, leaving Marie speechless as a voice cries out, "President!" Oyayagi runs up with a flock of sheep, asking if Hasuda is okay. Hasuda confirms the retrieval went perfectly, and his side was easy too, as Marie looks on. Hasuda tells Oyayagi, who has slung the unconscious Magna over his shoulder, that they should take their leave soon. Marie begs them to wait, but Hasuda coldly assures her the man will face a fate worse than death, so she should just forgive him. Devastated, Marie cries out that she has nothing left and wonders how she's supposed to live now. Hasuda dismissively tells her there's nothing they can do as outsiders, and walks away, leaving Marie stunned by his callousness. As she watches them leave, a sheep approaches Marie, presenting a ring tied to a note. Reading the letter, Marie whispers Thomas's name, learning he knew he wouldn't survive, and was sorry to leave her behind. In a vision from the letter, Thomas and the villagers smile as he tells Marie to live on for his sake, promising he'll always think of her. Kneeling in the field, Marie quietly thanks the retrieval agent as he and his team depart with their captive. Elsewhere, a powerless Magna awakens in a forest, wondering where he is, and vowing to rebuild his village. Resolving to control people even without powers, Magna trips and falls, only to find a man grotesquely covered in red mushrooms. Magna is confronted by a group led by a man with a mushroom for a head, who reveals this is a blood Matsutake farm using human seedbeds, leaving Magna speechless. The mushroom-headed man taunts Magna, saying everyone is waiting and that his inoculation is about to begin as small, yellow-helmeted creatures approach the horrified Magna. Held down, Magna is told he'll become a seedbed for his beloved mushrooms as one of the small creatures prepares to inject him. Magna begs for forgiveness as mushrooms sprout from his flesh, while a younger, crueler-looking man smirks, calling this the ultimate slow life. Magna cries out in agony as he's consumed by the parasitic growth and a strange purple energy. The scene shifts to a lively, lantern-lit street at night. At the Black Dragon Fortress Bar District, Hasuda, Oyayagi, and a white-haired girl raise their glasses for a celebratory cheers. The team enjoys their meal, with Oyayagi laughing about how he was panicking about growing mushrooms on his head. Later, Hasuda wakes up on a couch in his office, groggily wondering what time it is. Splashing water on his face, Hasuda tries to remember what happened after he took a wasted Oyayagi home. A sparkling, elegantly dressed man with light blue hair appears, asking if he is Hasuda, who is startled by his presence. The white-haired girl, Itakura, informs her president that this is his 9 o'clock appointment, and Hasuda, recalling the previous night's drinking, asks her to make tea. Hasuda apologizes for the delay, and Itakura asks their client Cecil if Hasuda is really okay, to which he replies that Hasuda is just weak with alcohol. The client introduces himself as Cecil and says he urgently needs an ability retrieval, piquing Hasuda's interest. Cecil explains that he welcomed a reincarnator into his world who was hailed as a saint, but something terrible happened, as the so-called saint is shown unleashing a cataclysmic blast of dark energy. You can change your voice in the settings menu. Cecil grimly states that welcoming the reincarnated person turned out to be a disaster. He presents a photo of a ravaged landscape, and Hasuda asks if a bomb went off. Cecil reveals that his world was destroyed by that very saint, now a demonic entity standing over a field of corpses. Looking at the documents, Hasuda scoffs that this is no saint, as Itakura provides the file for reference. Hasuda reviews the file of Shirakawa Megumi, a single mother who died in a truck accident, noting she seemed kind and serious. Cecil fumes over the betrayal, wondering how a good person became so monstrous, while a hungover Hasuda asks why they summoned her in the first place. Cecil looks downcast as he prepares to explain the history of his world. For hundreds of years, he explains, a conflict between humans and demons maintained the world's balance, but that balance was shattered as armored knights are shown being viciously cut down. The birth of more powerful demons collapsed the balance, with one gloating over the fallen humans. Desperate, the humans prayed for a saint to revive them, and she appeared, but it was not the salvation they hoped for. Cecil sighs, overwhelmed by the memory of his world's tragic history. Understanding the situation, Hasuda names his price as Trihan and agrees to handle the collection. Cecil enthusiastically agrees to the terms, and Hasuda declares the deal is done. Hasuda instructs Itakura to see Cecil out and thanks the client for his business. Cecil explains that gods like him are bound to one world, making him grateful for the agency's work in restoring reason. With a confident smirk, Hasuda promises that they look forward to working with him. In a desolate wasteland, the monstrous saint looms over a terrified knight. The knight rallies his men, urging them to push forward and charge the terrifying entity. The monstrous saint unleashes a devastating beam of purple and red energy. A lone knight awakens amidst the smoldering bodies of his comrades, a casualty of the saint's attack. Hasuda arrives on the battlefield, remarking on the horrible scene and noting that he can't find the target. He surveys the carnage, confirming to himself that he sees no saint here. The surviving knight weakly asks who he is, and Hasuda expresses his relief at finally finding someone alive. Identifying himself as from the collection agency, Hasuda asks the knight to tell him everything he knows. The knight explains that when the saint first descended, she brought humanity hope again, but that hope was short-lived. Indiscriminately attacking friend and foe, she began to destroy everything in her path. He finishes his tale, confirming the saint simply started annihilating everything. The monstrous saint stands silently over the field of corpses she created. Hasuda asks if she went berserk and why, but the knight doesn't know, unable to believe someone so kind could do this. After thanking the knight, Hasuda turns to leave, ignoring the knight's warning that he'll die and telling him not to worry. Walking away, Hasuda calls Itakura, asking her to tell Byakuya not to panic when he arrives this afternoon. Now, Hasuda stands calmly before the enormous, monstrous saint. He addresses the creature by her human name, Shirakawa Megumi, and the entity recoils in shock. Introducing himself as Lotus from the collection agency, also called Hasuda, he politely asks for a moment of her time. Whoops, the enraged saint recognizes him as being the same as that bastard and attacks, but Hasuda nimbly dodges the blow. Landing safely, Hasuda wonders aloud who she meant when she said he was the same as him. The saint expresses surprise that he's still alive, calling him a persistent bastard. Scram! She fires another powerful energy blast directly at him. After the blast subsides, the monstrous saint stands alone amidst the smoke and desolation. Unfazed, Hasuda takes a drag from his cigarette, stating coolly that her attack won't work on him. The surviving knights flee in terror but realize the saint isn't attacking them, guessing she only reacts to those who approach her. Finding the situation troublesome, Hasuda asks the saint who the guy she mentioned earlier was. She screams, "Shut up," and unleashes waves of energy, which Hasuda casually dismisses as he asks if she's lost her ears. The attack misses Hasuda and strikes a group of horned demons lurking behind him. Seizing the opportunity, a winged demon lunges at Hasuda, shouting for him to die. Hasuda simply raises his hand and commands the demon to fall. A massive pillar of blue lightning descends from the sky, striking the demons and stopping their assault. Annoyed by the interruption, Hasuda tells the three demons not to get in the way of their conversation. Facing the saint again, Hasuda says he doesn't want to fight, reminding her that she was a very good person in her past life. He explains that the people he usually deals with, like the two previous villains, are completely different from her. As she screams for him to shut up, he wonders aloud what could have driven a kind mother to go this far. He gets closer, concluding that something very special must have happened. The saint screams that it's noisy and she won't trust anyone anymore, and Hasuda calmly says he understands. With a knowing look, Hasuda coolly states that this is all about her kids. The saint freezes, her red eyes widening in shock at his words. A tense silence falls over the wasteland as Hasuda and the saint face off. Repeating his conclusion, Hasuda watches as the saint's monstrous hand reaches out toward him. Monstrous saint stammers, unable to finish saying the word kids. She reveals that she is protecting them, and they're inside her, to Hasuda's surprise, as he notices a stirring within her shadowy form. Within her robes, two small, horned demon children cling to each other, begging for someone to stop bullying their mom. As Hasuda puts the pieces together, he asks if those children are hers. A glowing orb of light materializes in the saint's monstrous hand. She gazes at the orb as Hasuda looks on, silently watching her. The orb flashes with a brilliant light that envelops the area. A confused woman with long brown hair stands in the light, wondering what's happening. Cecil appears before her, asking if she remembers running a red light and dying in an accident. Panicked, she cries that her children, Kai and Sora, are waiting for her, and Cecil acknowledges her worry. He offers to send her back to her world, revealing that he is a god, and she looks up in disbelief and hope. Cecil offers her a deal with conditions. She will become humanity's savior, the saint. With a cruel smirk, he tells her she must defeat the demons of calamity. Offering a glowing power, he asks the hesitant woman if she accepts his proposal. Her eyes filled with resolve, she agrees to do it if she can see her children again. The scene shifts to a grand city where armored soldiers on horseback celebrate the arrival of Saint Sama. A winged, red-haired demon taunts the foolish humans, declaring they've returned just to die. Eek, the newly crowned saint, flinches in terror as the demon prepares to incinerate her. "No," she screams, instinctively creating a brilliant shield of golden light. The shield unleashes a powerful beam, vaporizing the surprised demon as her army watches from below. The soldiers erupt in cheers, amazed that their saint won, while she stares at her hands, realizing the extent of her new power. Clenching her fists, she resolves that she can't be scared and must finish this quickly to reunite with her kids. Suddenly, her soldiers are cut down around her, and splattered with blood, she realizes this is bad. A wounded soldier pleads with her to run from the approaching horde of masked demons of calamity. The soldier collapses, gasping that the demons are too strong before dying. She grips the fallen soldier's hand, her expression hardening. Refusing to flee, she faces the enemy with grim determination, acknowledging the demons of calamity. Kneeling by her fallen comrade, she vows to defeat them all. She charges headfirst into the demon swarm, pushing herself to fight just a bit more. Power gathers in her hand as she focuses on her one goal, if she can beat them. "I can go home," she screams, unleashing a devastating blast of light that catches the demons by surprise. Two masked demons vow to kill the saint, but she steels herself, knowing she must win. Thinking of her twin sons, she fights with the hope that they can one day hug her again. Boom! Her attack annihilates the two demons, and as the dust settles, the watching soldiers wonder if it's over. From the smoke, two small, horned demon children emerge, confusedly calling the names Kai and Sora. The two small demons look up at the battle-worn saint and ask, "Mom?" Her soldiers look on in utter confusion, unable to understand what is happening. Cecil appears behind her, whispering in her ear, asking what's wrong and urging her to kill them. Horrified, the saint realizes these children are her targets, while her soldiers cheer for her victory and other demons call for her death, causing her to mentally scream, "Stop." Unleashing her power in a blinding flash, she attacks the demons surrounding her two children. In the present, the monstrous saint vows to protect her children, declaring she'll defend them even if he returns. Her protective rage explodes in a fiery blast as she screams, "Kill him." Hasuda watches from afar, finally understanding the truth. The saint's rampage is solely to protect her two children. As the memory shatters, Shirakawa Megumi's tearful face cries out for someone to help them. Her demon son begs Hasuda for help, revealing Cecil's deception, but Hasuda coldly states he's just a collector. Golden energy swirls around his arm, as he explains he uses his body and abilities to collect things. His eyes glowing, he declares he will now collect what the god asked him to. As Cecil smirks, the two children and their mother's spirit thank Hasuda, while a wave of golden energy surges. Hasuda repeats his mantra. He uses his body and abilities to collect things. The golden energy engulfs the saint and her children as he finishes his thought. He collects what the god asked him to. The next day, Hasuda awakens at his desk, groaning about his massive headache. Itakura serves tea, remarking things got wild with the master of Sarges, while Hasuda thanks her and she asks if there's more trouble. President. A man with a green mohawk bursts into the office, Byakuya furiously demands to know why Hasuda collected Shirakawa Megumi, insisting she wasn't a bad person. He recounts her past hardships, working desperately, struggling alone, and raising her kids all by herself. Byakuya looks at an image of the monstrous saint, asking why such a kind person had to meet that fate. He argues that being a mother is an instinct, showing a happy memory of Shirakawa embracing her sons. Hasuda coldly dismisses his plea, stating that sentiment doesn't make sense when it comes to their work. Stunned, Byakuya protests that she was a good, honest person and they could have helped her. Hasuda takes a long drag from his cigarette, reminding him that they are a collection agency that fulfills client requests. With a piercing glare, he declares that in their line of work, half-baked feelings have no place. In Hasuda's office, the blue-haired god Sissel smiles, calling the recent events a wonderful show. He reveals his sinister goal, orchestrating killing sprees with reincarnated people just to kill time. Sifel confesses his love for the despair that comes from severing the close bonds between humans, like those of the saint and her children. He complains that the woman ruined his perfect show, provoking an angry, "What did you say?" from Byakuya. Sissel compliments Hasuda, calling his business a smart one, and Hasuda dryly agrees they are a last refuge. Thanking Hasuda for disposing of his failed work, Sissel vows his next spectacle will be even more cruel and beautiful. Byakuya erupts in fury, shouting, "You!" as Sissel feigns ignorance. Itakura quickly grabs Byakuya, trying to hold him back as he trembles with rage. Hasuda coolly apologizes for his employee, and Sissel dismisses it, asking how the collection was processed. Holding up a tiny, glowing figure, Hasuda confirms he collected the ability without issue, but his phone starts to ring. RRR. Hasuda explains the saint's body was given to a trading company, remembering the night being captured. Byakuya furiously demands to know why they went so far, and asks what will happen to the twins. Lunging forward, Byakuya throws a punch at the smirking Sissel. A terrifying look from Hasuda freezes Byakuya in his tracks. Stunned, Byakuya says he needs to cool his head and leaves the room, only to stop short in the hallway. Two men in black suits identify themselves as the Genesis Management Bureau's inspection department, confirming Sissel is their target. Sissel jumps in shock, wondering why the Marsa are here. Confused, Byakuya and Itakura question the name Marsa and the unfamiliar bureau. An overview explains that Marsa is a code name for an agency that polices gods for crimes like malicious fraud. An agent clarifies that they are, simply put, the police for gods' misdeeds, and Byakuya and Itakura understand. The lead agent formally informs Sissel of a serious management violation, accusing him of illegally reincarnating a human, but Sissel defiantly denies their right to investigate his collection. The agent continues, accusing Sissel of manipulating fate and sacrificing countless lives for his own amusement. Sissel breaks into a nervous laugh, trying to play dumb. He suddenly snaps, screaming maniacally for them to show him their evidence. The agent calmly reveals a family, the very people Sissel used, and shows on his phone that they were collected, leaving Sissel horrified as Hasuda smirks. Sissel turns on Hasuda in a rage, realizing he was part of the trap all along. Hasuda calmly states his philosophy. He always chooses the path that brings the greatest benefit in the long run. He then complains to the agent for taking so long, forcing him to stall the idiot Sissel while the agent cites procedures. As the agents move in to apprehend a stunned Sissel, their leader says, "Excuse us." Sissel panics, boasting that his father is the head of the Shinto ritual department and will get them exiled for this. The agent flatly informs him that even his father can't help him now. As the agents restrain Sissel, Byakuya and Itakura peek out from the office, spotting a new arrival. A new, imposing figure is identified as Minister Yuri, the head of the inspection department. Minister Yuri addresses Sissel directly, stating that his unforgivable actions can no longer be overlooked. He delivers the final verdict. Sissel is to be deprived of his godhead. The agents seize the screaming Sissel, who struggles and shouts that they must be lying. Minister Yuri looks on coldly, stating that despite being a god, Sissel treated the world he was meant to manage as a toy, and this is a crime he must answer for.